I didn't think I would ever tell this story, but it's one of the rare times my personal life awkwardly collided with my professional one. This is story time only in LA #2. Imagine investigating a case of torture so gruesome the coroner said he had never seen anything like it outside of wartime. One of the worst in Hollywood history. That was my day job. Now imagine that same week, at night, you're dancing with friends at a mansion party. Music is blaring, drinks in hand, and you suddenly realize you are inside the killer's family home. This is the case of Blake Leibel. Here's the backstory. Blake was a wealthy graphic novelist from Canada, privileged, born into money. Some of his friends and colleagues said that he had a disturbing obsession with control and violence, and he wrote fiction that read like real-life murder blueprints. And the crime he eventually committed did mimic his writings. He was convicted of torturing and murdering his fiancée, Iana Kasian, in West Hollywood in 2016. During this time, Blake had been married for years to a model named Amanda Braun, and they had a child together. But Blake cheated on her with Iana, a former Ukrainian prosecutor turned model who moved to LA. In May of 2016, the girlfriend Iana gave birth to their child, a daughter named Diana. And here's where it gets dark. Just 6 days before Iana's murder, a second girlfriend he had filed a sexual assault complaint against Blake. He was actually picked up by police the same day, and then an investigation was launched. Another call comes into police. Iana's mother, visiting from Ukraine, and she had been trying to reach her daughter for days, no calls or text messages. So the LAPD agreed to do a welfare check. They knocked, no answer, they left. 2 days later, she's begging them to go back, and they find the apartment was barricaded. Blake was inside. When officers forced entry, they found Blake in bed with Iana's body. She was mutilated, drained of all her blood, and disfigured. Now, a detective told me that the body was actually devoid of any quantity of blood. Iana was tortured for up to 8 hours before dying. Meanwhile, and thankfully, her 3-year-old baby girl was left in the care of her mother. At this time, I was aggressively trying to track down sources for interviews when this story broke, and I reached out to his brother Cody, who had been really big in the celebrity circle at the time. He also had some ownership into some LA nightclubs. I never got my calls returned, which makes sense, of course, under the circumstances. So I reached out to one of Blake's friends, a friend of both brothers. Now, he was an entrepreneur and owned some restaurants in town, very successful. He told me no, politely but firmly. The trail went cold. So that week of reaching out, I walked into a packed Hollywood nightclub after work one day, and the friend I was bugging for an interview was there, sitting at the table next to mine. I didn't think much of it. I just tried to keep my distance. My story aired on a national platform. It was a show called Crime Watch Daily.
Because the things that he put into his graphic novel that he conceptualized, in many ways, wound up being, for all appearances, the playbook for his crime.
And just a few days later, I go to a house party. It's a big one. Here's a look. I'm going to spare you the video playing out because it's us dancing, but here's an image showing the house we were at. It was beautiful, catered event, perfectly designed, and I'm thinking this host really knows how to throw a party. I'm dancing, I'm laughing with friends until I look across the room, and there I see Blake's best friend and his brother, Cody, and they're staring at me. I see them in a corner kind of chattering and looking at me, so I pull a stranger aside and I say, "Whose house is this? Who's the homeowner? Who's the person throwing this event?" And the person I asked pointed out Cody Leibel, Blake's brother. And that's when I froze and I realized I'm in Blake Leibel's brother's house at his personal private event. I knew I should not be at that event. I just completely froze. So I walk over to the friends I was with and I just said, "We have to go right now." And they were confused. And I told them the story that I just did. It literally just aired. And then I told them whose house we were in. So we were all pretty freaked out. And as we were walking out the door, I catch eyes with them. Now, they never approached me. They never told me to get out. Rightfully so, even if they did. I had no idea I was in that house. If I would have known, I would have never gone. But just the odds of that, doing a story on this family, and then I just coincidentally end up in their family home at their private event. It's one of those only in LA moments. Now, Blake, this is something else that stayed with me. He had these very vivid thoughts, and he expressed them in this graphic novel called Syndrome. The plot was a doctor studying a serial killer who murdered his victims by slitting their throats and hanging them upside down to bleed out. The theme was about obsession and transformation and control. The final page of Blake's book reads, "In the end, we all become monsters." And he did.